Hello and welcome to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be talking about exactly why you should sound like your favorite players. This has always been a really tricky question for me because I've always wrestled with this idea that I should be the most unique version of myself. I can't sound like my favorite players because then I'd be just copying them. So I've had this battle of I should be copying, I shouldn't be copying, I should be copying, I shouldn't be copying. And the real answer here is that there is no answer. I think that what we like in other players is unique to us. What we hear in other players is unique to us. And it's so important that we explore the things that we like, whether or not we are copying others. When we first start communicating as children, we copy the words that our parents say, or we use new words that we learned at school and we overuse them. We use them so much. I remember when I was a kid, I used to say, you know, all the time. I still say it quite a lot, but at the end of every sentence, I'd say, you know, or when I was, another thing that I used to say a lot, that's so stupid. I I used to say that all the time. It's actually quite silly how kids can repeat themselves so much. But when we're young, we're trying to assimilate all this knowledge and we're trying to put together a vocabulary that works for us. And there's no judgment if we repeat our verbal vocabulary. So why not make it okay to repeat your horn vocabulary? If you listen to John Coltrane, he repeats himself all the time, especially earlier on when he was developing his sound and his voice. So I think that it's kind of a load of baloney, this stigma associated with copying other players. Now, there's a difference between copying and pretending that that is your identity. I'm getting a little something over here. What is this? What is this? Hi, Morgan, if you're watching this. Hi, Morgan. Anyway, so if you pretend that your identity is the player and you trick yourself into thinking that you are channeling such and such person and that becomes your identity, I think that's where things can get a little dangerous. I used to wish that I was Chris Potter. I used to wish that I was Michael Brecker. I used to wish that I was John Coltrane. And I'm sure everybody goes through that phase, but it can be a dangerous road when you start feeling like there's something wrong with who you are as a musician. And when you set the bar, when you set yourself up so that somebody else is the only standard, you are immediately setting yourself up for failure. There's no way that you could ever become John Coltrane. There's no way that you could ever become Chris Potter because you are not John Coltrane or Chris Potter. You are you, and that's all you'll ever be, because even on your worst day of being yourself, you're far better at that than you are on your best day of being somebody else. So, with all of that being said, I'm kind of sounding contradictory. It's important to copy the things that you love in the other players because it is a community. Music is a community. It's a sharing world. When we share, through sound, we communicate ideas and we share concepts. When you listen to your favorite player, you're getting a glimpse into their worldview and how they interpret music. So I want to share a few things that I have borrowed from some of my favorite players, or some things that I've learned from some of my favorite players. Now, this is a line that I stole from Kurt Rosenwinkel, one of my favorite guitarists, and he there's something really special about the way that Kurt Rosenwinkel plays. I'm sure you can see on my YouTube channel that I have a few videos of a concert that I did back in college where we played some of his music, and I got a chance to meet him a few times, and I've seen him play many, many times. There's something about his playing, it really resonates with me and it makes sense to me. So I transcribed this little line from Kurt Rosenwinkel's playing on Reflections from the album with the same title, with his standards trio. So this is over a 2-5-1 in concert E flat, and it's going to start really outside, but it's going to find its way back. So give me a second here. I'm going to adjust the volume. Okay, I was wrong about two things. One, I played it. The lick is actually in concert A flat. That's the first thing I got wrong. Second of all, I didn't play it totally correct when I got it to the resolution. So I'm going to play it one more time, and this time, hopefully, I will play it correctly. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful sounding line. And as I wrote it out and I figured out what was going on in it, I realized that it's literally just the altered scale. There are no notes that deviate from that. On the whole 2-5, it's just the altered scale. So it's E flat 7 altered, and the way that he resolves it, the way that the line shape is. So there was at some point I practiced it in all 12 keys. I'm probably not as fluent now, but there's just something about that. So you have the benefit of borrowing vocabulary from these players that you really, really admire. And it's one thing to copy, and you just grab that lick that you like, okay, and then you start playing it in on your gigs or something like that. But you're missing out on a whole lot more. There's so much depth to the things that you hear on these records. And I'm going to just name a few things that you could do beyond just learning the notes. One, what does their time feel like when they play this lick? What does it mean? How does it sit with the rhythm section? Where's the bass player playing his quarter note? Where's the drummer playing his time feel? And where does that line sit in? So it's not just about what notes are being played, but how the notes are being played. And you can listen in deep on the dynamics of the line. Does it crescendo? Now, my memory of this line is not as vivid as it once was when I was practicing this material a lot. But these are some important things to think about when you're transcribing the material from other people. Because it's not just the line that's great, it's why is it great? Why does it work so well in that moment? What led up to it that makes that line so great? Something I've noticed about a lot of Kurt Rosenwinkel's playing is he'll often do a stretch of eighth note playing, like a nice long form of eighth note playing. It's a nice phrase of eighth notes, and then he'll rest a second, and then he'll play a 16th note thing, a phrase based around 16th notes, and he'll kind of go back and forth between those, and it's really interesting. He creates a really complex rhythmic feel by constantly shifting back and forth. It's almost like he'll play a really nice melodic line, and then he'll play something with 16ths to give you like this sense of color and space around what he just played, to give it like more context and more of a vivid image So that was Kurt Rosenwinkel. I There's another line that I practiced. I actually practiced this line on alto. Interestingly enough, it's the solo break from John Coltrane on Lover, and that is one of the most burnin' tenor solos I have ever heard. And it almost sounds as if when the rhythm section comes back in after the break, they can't even keep up with Train because he's just going full steam ahead. So I'm gonna play it really, really slowly, and hopefully I can get it right. And I remember when I was practicing this on alto, I did get it up to tempo once, but this was one of those that it was less important for me to get it up to tempo and more important for me to play it cleanly and evenly and really get that the way that Coltrane plays his eighth note lines, I was going to say 16th notes, but he plays it's so fast it sounds like 16th notes, but it really is eighth notes. I believe this was probably around 380 BPM or something ridiculous like that. So here's the line. I'm going to play it really slowly. It's a really, really simple line, and I think it sounds great. So I'm gonna play a little faster, and I'm gonna go on a little bit longer because I stopped at the downbeat of the when the rhythm section came back in. So I'll play it a little faster this time. Oh, and there's just something about Coltrane's sound that when he plays the Betty, he's just singing it, and I don't know, it just got me going. I think I learned like a chorus of that solo, and it took me literally months of practicing it for hours every day just to get it up to tempo. And that's another point I wanted to get to here, that part of listening to the greats is understanding where they set the bar. Because if you're just by yourself and you're practicing your own material, it's great. And I think it's important to go through phases of practicing stuff from your favorite players and then practicing your own stuff. And you find a balance between those two things. So you get inspired and then you get tired of that. And then you work on your own material for a while and you get inspired by that. But when you go back to studying the greats, it's like they set the bar so high that you realize just how much you suck in a good way. You realize, oh wow, okay, yeah, that work needs to be done. If I want to be at that level, I need to be able to do stuff like that. So for me, when I listened to this Train solo, I was like, oh my god, this is the most unbelievable solo I've ever heard. It's so fast, but Train plays all his lines super, super cleanly, and he never breaks. Because when I play faster songs, my phrases are super short and they're inconsistent. But when Train plays, it's like he's playing this really long form, and like it's just coming out of his horn. And I wanted to get close to that. I wanted to feel what it was like to be able to play that way, and that's another thing that's really a benefit. Is when you learn a solo really, really well and you're playing along with the record, I think it is really crucial to try to get inside the mind of the improviser you are copying. Pretend for a moment that you are John Coltrane or McCoy Tyner, Elvin Jones, whatever your instrument is. Pretend for a moment you've learned all the notes. You have a good sense of how it works. You have the muscle memory. Now all you have to do is listen to the musician you're playing along with. As you play through your transcription, you listen to the recording and you pretend for a moment that your sound is merging with theirs and you become them. It is such a powerful experience. And sometimes you only get a moment where it sounds like that. But that moment is really, really magical. And you feel, oh my gosh, there's so much more going on here. There's so much room. There's so much space. There's so much nuance. There's joy in this moment. There's sadness in this moment. It's such an intoxicating feeling when you're playing in this space. And you can imagine for a split second that might have been how they felt when they played. Because to you, it took you so long to get to the point where you could play their solo. But to them, they just hopped in front of a microphone and played that solo. They didn't practice that solo. That's the first time they ever played that solo. And I think that makes things so much more mind-blowing. So I gave you a few examples of some lines I like from solos and why I like them. And I hope you got some value out of this. If you did, please like this video. And I do put out a video every day, so if you want to see more of this, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you get a reminder that I'm going live or that I posted a new video. If you have any comments on this subject or you have any ideas about some videos that you would like to see me make, please leave a comment below. And I think that's about it for tonight. And with that, I bid you farewell. So I'm going to sign off now. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. Good night.